Well, hello, Cal parents. Once again, I'm David Ortega, the Director of Parent Services and Communications, and wanted to invite you back to Cal Parents Facebook Live. Today we have as our guest, we have Dr. David Surratt, our Interim Associate Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, and he's going to come and talk to us a little bit about all the things that he's working with and all the great ideas and housing and everything else that falls under his department. So we're looking forward to David coming on and giving us some great information. David's been here 5 years already. He's a PhD from the University of Oklahoma, and we're very proud to have him on our campus. So without further delay, David Surratt.
Great. Good to see Cal parents. Thanks for having me here. Appreciate David Ortega for the invitation and the introduction. A little bit about me, my background. I've worked in higher education for over 15 years now. I've worked at institutions including Oklahoma, Penn State University, two small liberal arts colleges on the East Coast where I was a dean of students. And I've been at Berkeley for now 5 years. I've served in different roles. I'm currently Associate Vice Chancellor, but I've also been Associate Dean of Students and Dean of Students here at Berkeley, so I've had a lot of experiences working on campus in various capacities. For the sake of this conversation or this talk, my current role as Associate Vice Chancellor, I have oversight over areas including our dining program, our housing program, child care centers, our Cal One Card office, conference services, and a number of facilities support and improvement in our housing and rec sports programs. So a lot of people I work with, and I work with talented people as well. So if I don't have the answers to your questions, I'm sure I can get you connected with people who do. So glad to be here. One of the things that I oftentimes talk to parents and family members about is when you're thinking about your children coming to a new place, you're thinking about what are your fears? What are the ways I'm preparing for this transition? And oftentimes for parents and family members, their students are thinking about three primary things. They're thinking, am I going to make good grades? Am I going to make friends? And am I going to get along with my roommate, especially if I live on campus? And so those are some of the top three worries for a lot of incoming students coming to campus. And so with that said, I don't want to talk too long. I want to maybe give an opportunity for folks to share some questions. And I'm going to respond to some questions that were submitted beforehand as well. So we'll get started. So one of the first questions was about our housing. There's the idea of a notion of housing shortage for students, and is there any chance that housing will be guaranteed beyond freshman year going forward for students? We're in a market that is really competitive in terms of housing. I think that's no secret. There have been also emails and communications from our Chancellor's office about the importance of prioritizing increasing access to housing for our students. That is something that's a priority for me and my team, and we've been working hard on that. I will say that we continue to provide priority housing for first-year students. So when they apply, make sure you're paying attention to our deadlines and submitting applications. But generally speaking, we are working to give priority housing to first-year students as they apply. The hope is that now that we're actually bringing on a new residence hall, David Blackwell Hall, it's our first public-private partnership to bring on additional housing and beds. And that will actually be prioritized for first-year students, but it'll also open up additional spaces for continuing students after their first year. So more to come with that. We're also working on what we call master lease agreements. For those that are not aware, these are agreements with typically private developers who are investing and spending capital to build new housing projects. What's good is that they can work faster typically than we can in terms of investing the amount of capital, but they also provide inventory of beds that we can lease from them. So we're working on actually partnerships and agreements with about 4 leasing agencies to support that. So looking forward to that in the future. So the next question we had was just in general, how many people live in the residence halls? We have about 7,600 single student housing apartment style. We also have about 250 grad housing and 970 or so family style housing in what we call University Village. But for the intents and purposes for many of our traditional students who are coming in as first years, roughly 7,600 beds available. I see we've got a comment about the sound. We're working on that now. So the next question we have was, what procedures are in place to ensure safety in the residence halls? A number of things that are important. Safety is a big part of our work that we do, both from a programmatic standpoint and also our facilities. I will say in the last 2 years, we have allowed for installation of new card access. So any student who actually has their Cal 1 card, it's important that they keep hold of that. And they allows them access to the residence facilities. We also have partnerships with our University of California Police Department. We have a liaison with the police who helps provide additional support and security, and also supervises our security monitoring program. We also have cameras that have been installed in many of our public locations in the residence halls that have added security. We've also had our sprinkler systems updated in our residence halls to make sure we have fire suppressant installed everywhere. And we also have student staff and also professional staff who live on campus in the residence halls trained to respond to crisis situations and support our students in the residence halls. So it's been great to work with my team on that in the last couple of years. So the next question was, I hear there are tutors and advisors in the residence halls. How do the students get tutoring? And let's see. So we have drop-in hours available for tutoring in the residence halls. I'd say the primary areas for subjects. Let's see, I see a note. I'll see if I can steer a little closer to the microphone, if that helps. All right, so we have tutoring in the residence halls available for drop-in hours, primarily focused on writing, math, and physics. And so that's one of our popular ways in which students are accessing opportunities to get additional support. They can meet with folks. We encourage students to bring any types of questions they have to our tutors and know that the tutoring sessions aren't meant to do the work for them. It's meant to actually help with support, answering questions, but they don't do any editing. It's a service we do provide in the residence halls, and it's really one that students really appreciate. So our next question is, please tell me about the dining options for my student. So there's information in detail on the website that I'd like to refer folks to about Cal Dining, but I want to emphasize for this next year, we do have some changes to our meal plan options. One is a blue standard residential meal plan available to students. It'll come standard for students who are getting a housing assignments with us, and it'll come with a minimum of 12 meal plans, 12 meals per week, plus flex dollars that they can actually spend both in our retail restaurants and our grab-and-go areas like our Bear Market or like kind of convenience stores. They can also use these flex dollars at sporting events and games. So when there's concessions, they can apply and use those flex dollars there as well. What I want to emphasize is that there will be option 2 to pay a small premium for the gold meal option, which will be an unlimited swipe program where students could come in and swipe as many times they want to during a particular week and get as many meals or even just get a quick snack. So it gives students options to go in and swipe as many times during the week and also have flex dollars they can still use at retail locations on campus. We have primary residential facilities that have dining areas in the units for our students. And we also have campus restaurants. Our most popular ones probably are Golden Bear Cafe, that students oftentimes will do grab-and-go options and grab some things in between classes or on their way to class too. And so there's also additional questions about dietary restrictions or options. So does Cal Dining accommodate for specific diets such as vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, kosher, etc.? So many of our students are encouraged to actually speak with a dietitian on campus or talk to our managers in the dining halls. Many of our students can set up an appointment with a dietitian to talk about their specific needs. I also encourage students to talk to our managers and supervisors about what their particular needs or interests are too. One thing we've been doing this year that we are benchmarking with other institutions like Stanford and other schools across the country is what we call menus of change. It's emphasizing plant-based options, vegetable-based options, and sustainable options for food. This is very popular in the Bay Area for students. Now, if you're like me, I'm from Oklahoma, so I grew up also with plenty of proteins and types of things like that too. We do have some great protein options, meat options that are both sustainable and healthy and really fulfilling too. So lots of options there. We also do provide dietary options for folks with interest in halal or kosher options as well too. So what are the benefits to applying to a theme program versus regular housing? I want my students to have a diverse experience and not be pigeonholed. So we do have 7 theme programs that are available in the residential facilities. One focused on African American theme programs, Asian Pacific American, CASA, which is our Latinx and Hispanic and Chicanx location there. Global Environment, focused on sustainability and environmental sustainability. Our Native American theme program, Unity House, and Women in Science and Engineering. Those are just a few of the options that are available to students, and they're encouraged to apply. The good thing about those options is that students can look for an opportunity to connect with a smaller community. Berkeley is a large campus, and it can feel sometimes a little overwhelming. But I would say that these communities are good for folks to make connections, but they're also an opportunity for students to live on campus in general, just to connect with their RA or their floor. Now, some students also are interested beyond just residential housing and applying to other areas like the cooperative living in Berkeley, or also maybe even looking at Greek life, like fraternities and sorority life on campus. So we have a number of programs that will actually help students get connected and involved on campus. So it's not necessarily just about the theme programs, which are great, but actually, if you want to do the theme programs, it's fantastic. But I also would say make sure you have options that are both narrow but also broad, and when your student is applying for housing on campus. But just know that there's going to be lots of opportunities to create small types of communities on campus during their time here. There was a question, it looks like, about residential colleges and Bowl, but I do wanted to share that there's a distinction between our residential program for Cal and Bowles Hall. Bowles Hall is operated independently of our program. So you would need to make sure you contact Bowles directly to ask specific questions of their program. They have some great folks over there. I know the deans, but I will say that they do operate independently of our residential facilities, although they are included in the way financial aid calculates the cost of attendance at the university. Okay, so the next question. So my daughter's in first year at Cal. She needs to find an apartment for next academic year. What can she do to find an off-campus apartment? So you probably have already seen about Cal Rentals, our website, which includes a lot of information, including message boards, easy access to listings. It's all provided free of charge to students if they want to use that. There's also a housing fair. If you write this down, April 11th, there is a housing fair for students to be able to attend. There's more information. Just make sure you're on the lookout or check our website for the exact time. But April 11th, there's a housing fair that will provide information to students who are looking for off-campus housing opportunities. It's a lot of folks who we have worked with and we trust are treating our students appropriately when it comes to off-campus housing. I've also worked in my prior role in the Dean of Students office with student legal services. So we have an attorney for students who actually provides information and advice for navigating the process of looking for off-campus housing, looking at tenant rights, understanding how to navigate that system, because sometimes it can be a little bit confusing and complex for folks who are looking for housing in the Berkeley area. I, for one, when I moved here, had my own questions, and it was helpful to know that we had that kind of resource for our students here on campus. Okay. The next question. What's the likelihood of my student getting to live in the Res Halls again next year? So one of the things that is true to this area is that we have a highly competitive process for folks applying for housing each year. We do try to do our best to make sure students are accommodated in their first year, and it's highly competitive in the following year. With the addition of Blackwell Hall as part of our inventory, it will open up more opportunities for continuing students to be able to house with us in the following year. So I can't tell you the specific numbers, but it's a significant increase in the number of beds available for students. Information is always sent out early spring, probably around February, for returning students to apply to come back to campus with us too. So I just encourage folks to apply and make sure they look at the deadlines. Okay. So my student will be studying engineering. Does this mean they should live in Foothill or Stern, since the engineering buildings are close to that dorm? So I would say possibly. It depends on what the student wants to do. So some of our students sometimes like to be able to live in different locations, and they want access to different folks from different disciplines. So the proximity is really helpful for some students too. I'm a big fan of Foothill and Stern, just because it's very much a quiet area, nice environment, and it is located. But I wouldn't say if they have to live there, but just I would say work and talk to your students, make sure you get a sense of what their preferences are, and just encourage them to be open to different options as well. Okay, so there's a question about proximity to campus and traveling to campus. So Berkeley housing is a little expensive for my students. They need to live outside the city in Albany. What transportation resources are there since they don't have a car? So I want to emphasize one thing that's really great for our students is that we do, out of the Cal One Card office, offer what's called a class pass, which is basically a pass that provides unlimited access to AC transit for our students who are enrolled on campus. And so it's a really good opportunity for students to leverage our transportation and resources here. Rideshare programs are also very popular here. They were born in the Bay Area, so they're very much available. And then also we have bike share programs available too on campus that are really helpful for our students to kind of just get around easily and access different locations on campus as well. So do students in dorms generally only study at their desks in their room, where locations are available for studying? There's tons of locations on campus. I know a lot of our students have been spending a lot of time in our new student union in the last few years. A lot of students spend time studying in the library. I wish I could tell you all the places. My favorite spot whenever I was actually a doctoral student when I started working here was to spend some time sitting next to the Strawberry Creek and just kind of finding a quiet place outside. Lots of options, and we had the privilege of having some great weather here in the Bay Area, so it's kind of nice to be able to do that as well. There's study space in public areas in the residence halls. We also have some different private classroom spaces. We have lounge spaces in the res halls as well if students want to stay indoors, and also connect with other students and collaborate. So it's really good opportunities there. But lots of places to study. Oh, and cafes too. There's some great cafes on campus. You can't get around Berkeley without finding access to some coffee too. So it's a good place. What programs do you have in the dorms that promote mental health and wellness? So I'd say there's a lot of ways in which we try to do our best to support students who may be in distress. One of the biggest things is that we actually have a liaison with our University Health Services, also known as Tang Center. We actually have a clinician who is a psychologist who works with us, partners with our training, partners with response to students in crisis. They also help train for not only our student staff, but also professional staff as well. So we're here to help a lot of our students in transition. I think while I was leaving off on answering the question about wellness and support for students, so we do have a connection to the Tang Center, which we work with a clinician from University Health Services, who actually supports training for our staff and also responding to students in crisis. We also work with our RAs and professional staff in the residence halls who are trained to not only help students transition, but they also respond to various forms of crisis that they may be encountering, students may be encountering. We also partner with our Dean of Students Office, who have a service called our Student Affairs Case Management. Again, students can work with these staff members to make sure they're supported when they have any type of issues, concerns, crises that affect their ability to be successful in the classroom. There was a couple questions. One was about transfer students, likelihood of accessing housing. One thing we are doing is we've provided opportunities for us to try to prioritize housing where we can. We do have a competitive process and some limitations, but again, with the idea of adding additional beds right now in the coming fall with Blackwell Hall, it's actually opening up more opportunities for us to prioritize not only traditional first-year students, but also first-year transfer students, and open up additional space in our apartment living for transfer students as well. So it's an opportunity for us to hopefully continue to expand that opportunity for our transfers. There's another question too about if cafes accept the use of the Cal One card. Some of our cafes locally do accept the Cal One card. It's the Flex Dollars again, which is a declining balance account. You'll need to double check our website about the participating businesses for that. But there are many businesses near campus and adjacent to campus that accept the Cal One card as well. So the next question, my child was in a quad. What is the average stay for a person who receives one of these rooms before they are switched to a regular room? So when we talk about the idea of the quad spaces or even some of our temporary living spaces, our priority is to get those students obviously into permanent housing spaces. One of the biggest things that we emphasize, though, for students is that we are prioritizing moving them from lounge spaces or quad rooms into more permanent spaces that they have more diversity in the options they're wanting to transfer to. That increases the likelihood of us getting them into a preferred space and move them quickly. Typically, we are able to get a lot of our students out of temporary locations or lounge spaces into permanent spaces, usually by winter break. I can say sometimes there's a few occasions and small occasions where some students will stay in lounge spaces for a full semester. Sometimes it's because they're insisting they want to stay with their roommates, and sometimes it's about availability. But generally speaking, we definitely try to emphasize getting students into permanent spaces based upon their preferences. Let's see. Let me scroll down a little bit here. So there's a question about what career services are offered. Obviously, I want to refer folks to our career services site and career center. We do have some robust opportunities. I'd say the biggest things that have been emphasized for a lot of our first-year students is access to internships and externship programs on campus. A lot of our employers are looking for students to gain valuable experience in the workplace and in the workforce. So it's a great opportunity for our students to kind of connect. They can talk to a career counselor about their specific interests. They can do evaluations about their career interests. And oftentimes they can work with their advisor too in their disciplines to just learn more information about how they want to apply their educational interests to possible vocations or work opportunities. There's also a lot of research opportunities on campus that I want to emphasize. While the majority of our students are looking to employment opportunities, there's also some students who are looking at advanced degree options, master's degree options, or research options too. So they should talk to their advisor for sure about ways to access that, and also talk to their faculty members too. So there's a question about the reapplication process for university-owned apartments. I'd say that the reapplication process is pretty much similar to our deadlines on our website about looking at returning students who will be getting information about reapplying by February. There's some deadlines on there. I don't want to say too much right now because I think there's more information on the website that'll give you more specific details about that. And, oh, great. So tell us about leadership opportunities. There's tons of leadership opportunities, I'd say, within our program, but also on campus in general. Within our program, within housing and dining, there's work-related opportunities both in the dining halls, where we have many student leads and student service support specialists and student workers who work with us in dining and housing. And the residence halls, the RA position is one that I'm a big fan of. Our resident assistants are trained to be mediators. They're trained to support students and mentor students. And I was actually an RA myself in undergrad. It's one of the best and some of the first work-related experiences our students get in preparation for other career opportunities too. We also have theme program assistants in the residence halls who help support our theme programs and provide leadership. And we have a number of opportunities in our Residence Hall Association, our National Residence Hall Honorary, which are, again, leadership opportunities in the residence halls students participate in on a regular basis. So there's a question about orientation. So we had, last year, our first time was of having a welcome week model for orientation. What that means is that in past years, we used to have orientation throughout the summertime, but instead, this last year, it was an orientation that happened the week before classes began. It was called Golden Bear Orientation. What your student will experience if you're a student, parent of a first-year student joining us this next year, they'll go through what's called Golden Bear Prep, Golden Bear Advising, and Golden Bear Orientation. All of this is meant to make sure that students have the foundation to be prepared for a successful transition to Berkeley's campus. They'll get necessary information around safety, around connecting to other people, and a lot of the number of detailed information about how to actually engage with the campus before you even arrive. And then they'll also make sure they get advising about getting their classes added. And many of our students have anxiety about what classes to add. So they'll have a chance to actually talk to advisors virtually, ask questions, and actually get their classes chosen. And when they arrive at campus, they'll be ready for orientation, which is a multi-day orientation. They'll be connected to an orientation leader, put into smaller groups, which allows them to be able to navigate a big campus again with confidence. And they'll be provided information about how to connect with their peers, how to make sure they access resources on campus, how do they get the necessary training around diversity and connection with other people in general, and also connect with their college and their advisors. And so it's a comprehensive program for our students and making sure that they're able to, access and be able to be on campus with confidence. One of the biggest things related to this program change was the idea of making sure that students would have a common experience when they come to campus, especially for our out-of-state international students who had some challenges coming to a summer orientation that came back in the fall. This created a common experience for everyone that was equitable and supportive of a kind of one-class experience for our first-year students. We only have one more time for one more question. So what would you say to a parent who's considering Berkeley? What are the positives for their student by attending Berkeley? One of the biggest things that many students who come here, they always say, Berkeley is just a unique place. It's a top #1 public institution in the world. Obviously, I know we're kind of tied with our baby bear down in SoCal with UCLA, but it's a tremendous educational opportunity. The one thing I would say to parents who are considering Berkeley for their student is making sure that they know that when you come to Berkeley, you're not only coming to absorb knowledge, as a lot of students do when they're getting a bachelor's degree or whatnot, but you will have students who are not only engaging in that, but they're engaging in research, critical thinking, and they're getting prepared for making decisions in a challenging world after college. And so I'd say that you should have confidence in your student getting a great education and a great degree that can translate to some great opportunities afterwards. So I think that's all the time that I have. So thank you for your time. It was a quick half hour, but it's great to see you. And I hope to meet many of you all come fall. Thank you so much.